What's going on? This is Justin Ellis with CompLegends.com, and we've got a weekend review of the Rogue Invitational 2021. A couple highlights, what the big overreactions were, the deep dive into a little bit about the programming. But overall, I think a successful weekend in Austin, Texas. So with that being said, let's dive right into the top 3 overreactions from the Rogue Invitational 2021. The first one is the ones, okay? The ones meaning who took first. And if you can see right there on your screen, none other than Tia Claire Toomey taking first place. And I will say this wasn't a given, kind of like most of the games have been of late, but she pulled it through in the last one with a little bit of help of second position there, second place, Annie Thorsdottir, and we're gonna go over that a little bit, but lost that lead there really in the event 6 and 7. So Tia, just as a champ would, comes back from a little behind. And then of course, if we look at the men's side here, Justin Medeiros wins with a pretty good lead. Now a little bit of help on the point side from Patty V in that 7th event as well. But still, this looked like a kind of a games weekend. Nothing against that, but there's your champs being champs once again at the Rogue Invitational 2021. So congrats to those 2 athletes doing their thing. Number 2, obvious overreaction. Everything's bigger in Texas. Now I can say that because I'm coming from Texas, and so why wouldn't I support that? But I think they did it big. I think they did it right. I love the venue. Been there many a times, Dale Diamond, and it started off a little weird with the whole everyone's getting cowboy hats, boots, and belts. You know, being from Texas, you always fight that a little bit from folks talking about how everybody rides in on a horse, so they didn't do us any justice there. So no, I don't go to work on a horse. But the venue is great. It's outdoors. It looked very gamesy. Not that we're real far away from the games or anything, but it's going to suffice and buy us some more time until the games comes back around, or some of these big events that are coming up here pretty soon. So of course, being Rogue Invitational, you also had the strongman competition and then the legends. And I thought just overall really brought out some cool new apparatuses. You had the heel for the ruck, just kind of gave it the pinnacle of kind of this really good imagery of what you would want to see from a CrossFit event. So it looked very appealing. So congratulations, Austin, way to do that. Number 3 obvious overreaction, cha-ching, meaning I thought this is another big step as far as being professional athletes in the sport of CrossFit, and being paid gets people into the sport. Now, as you can see here, they had some sort of Bitcoin mashup with all this, and I read through it. It makes a little bit of sense. Obviously, Bitcoin is kind of like the market, and it's got some ups and downs, but looks like the overall purse was 1.4, basically 1.5 million. And if you look here for the invitational side of things, for the CrossFit side of things, first place got paid out $256,000, and I believe there was I don't know if it was event payouts. I was reading through what the actual total like Medeiros took home. I believe it was closer to like 290, and I think it was because of event wins or the Bitcoin. I'm not real sure, but this was like per placement here. So first place, 256K, and I wish they had a little more here. Let's see here. As far as, is that for each male and female? Or is that first place between the male and female? So that, I think it's each side actually. So, male athlete got that and female athlete got that. So here's the thing. You get invited, $6,000 is in your pocket. So just getting invited, it's not a bad little payout. Again, if this is your professional sport, if this is what you're trying to do and train for, you want to be invited. I mean, that's at least a month of training right there. You get in the top 10 and that starts doubling and increasing from there. Second place, 89,000, 47,000. The point is, and this is comparable to the games, which I think is pretty crazy that it's a fairly new event, but it's backed by some pretty big names. And so, you love to see this for the sport, for these athletes that can continue to give us and deliver a good sport and have good athletes involved in it. So the money is always a big thing to keep people in it. And it'll also draw attention, right? You got kids going through high school, and it's really competitive in football, baseball, tennis, golf, all these sports that are established and have these payouts. But if we have more of these events that are paying like that, because if you look at like Wadapalooza coming up, I think the winner takes something like $10,000 or $15,000, which again, kudos. And there's a lot more, just like the games. I mean, there's a lot of other divisions that they're having to worry about as far as age groups and, teens. Well, I don't know what they do for the teens, but as far as like the masters and all that, the teams as well, all have a payout as, that they have to worry about. And of course, they don't leave out on the strongman side. There's a pretty big payout for first, 133,000. So if you're good at this and you have a chance, you obviously want to be at this event and take advantage of a little bit of a payday. So that's my top 3 overreactions for the weekend. So nothing surprising, right? Now, if we dive into this, one of the first things that I saw come out of this, and this is not really about the event so much, but and we'll find her here real quick on the leaderboard, but pretty big news coming out of the CompTrain camp. And I feel like CompTrain has been kind of ravaged here lately, and I'm a supporter of CompTrain. I have been for some time, and enjoy Ben Bergeron and the podcast from time to time. And what they've done, it's never really for me been about the athletes that they train or have. I think it's just a very professional system. And of course, as a gym owner, I like to follow along, but that doesn't mean it's like specific. I still come in and do my twist for my athletes. But if you see here, Katrin Davis' daughter takes a 15th position, and the news coming out of that camp was that she did the invitational, not, I don't know if not advised, but not under Ben Bergeron, and it hadn't been announced that she was leaving the camp yet, but apparently was not being coached by Ben Bergeron for the weekend. Whether she did it against his will or they said, hey, we're going to make separate ways, and then I'm going to announce it afterwards. But afterwards, she did announce that she's leaving the camp. She's going over with Annie. Maybe this is, I don't know where they train out exactly, but also Carl Gudmundsson is in that camp. And so you got some good athletes. I mean, Annie's been just killing it. Maybe that's the thing. I mean, Annie was at that pinnacle, and Katrin came in and wins 2, and now Annie's made a resurgence, and Katrin's just kind of steadily been a good athlete, and in this case, falls to a 15th. I mean, 10th last year was her worst positioning in the games since winning. But I personally always felt like I thought Ben was a really good situation for her, and because of the sport evolving, we saw winners like Camille LeBlanc, Katrin, and the sport is evolving, and I think that's leaving some of these athletes that have some holes. Like, look, Katrin's a great athlete. To get to the games, you have to be a great athlete in this sport. So I always felt like he was bringing her up a level based on her skill sets, but she might feel like that it's the opposite. And who, I'm not in that camp. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting note that she's leaving. And that's pretty big for CompTrain. I mean, you think about it, Brooke Wells gone. I think there was some sort of relationship with Matt Frazier at one point. I believe Cole Sager is out of the camp as well. The only names that I saw was Amanda Barnhart. No, Cole Sager's still in there, and then it's Chandler Smith. So still some pretty good athletes there, and I'm sure they'll draw some more attention too. Because let's be honest, how many athletes can you have at that high level and give everybody the same attention? So I think there is typically a limit, right? I mean, you can't. If you look at all these camps, 3, maybe 4 athletes at a time. So next, I want to dive into, I thought was really, really interesting. We'll pull up this leaderboard once again. On the men's side, and he was very electrifying during the games. Kind of came out of nowhere. As the sport grows, so does the South, kind of America area. I don't know what region they're kind of calling that, but Guillermo, this gives me a little bit more indication that he's coming at it from a CrossFit standpoint. Of course, he wins the lift, which is always going to benefit him. But typically, how many heavy lifts do you see in the games? You get one real highlight. Now, I'm not saying there's not other heavy objects, but you still got a CrossFit. And I thought he stunned. He was a shocker for the lift, obviously. But we see some good positions here. I mean, first in that last workout, which again, you're seeing a little bit heavier barbell, but you got the double unders and you got that other piece onto the object. So I kind of feel like, again, if we were going to be pecking names, he would be at the top of that list. But he did enough on the other pieces, between 20 athletes. He never took a last. He did take a 19th, never took a last. And only other one spot did he fall to a 10th, and an 8th, a 6th, and a 9th. I mean, you really are battling with some of the best in those, skill sets. So I feel like this is a good direction for him, and we might be talking about him battling up towards the top of that leaderboard, and potentially, I mean, you're with some of the best right now for a podium spot. So I thought that was very interesting. We'll take a look here at his lift. Of course, that's what he's known for. He's a showman when it comes down to it, and you love to see it. The complex here at 367. So we've got the squat clean, the overhead there. He's gonna fall back into a front squat, and then the overhead. This is not an easy complex. I mean, the thing you love there, I think a lot of guys you can say can do a really heavy squat clean, or can do a heavy power clean, or can do a heavy front squat, or can do a heavy overhead. But there's an endurance factor when you start doing additional reps. That heart rate is going to get up there pretty quick. So look out for him in the future. I'm definitely looking out for him. A big note to follow as well, and I'm going to come back to this leaderboard, was Annie Thorsdottir. She had the makings of a Rogue Invitational champ, and this is no surprise. I mean, right? We saw what we saw in the games, but if you're looking at the leaderboard here, and the only thing that catches my eye, at least, was what a solid performance there was early on. And then we see event 6 and 7. Not that the 6th is terrible, but this is time to grind it out. This is time where I've got to take my win. First, 5th, 3rd, 6th. At this point, Tia has matched her with a 1st, but then she had a 7th, and then we can even go further. Yes, Annie had a 6th. We're starting to even back out, but boom, a 1st for Annie in event 5. And a 6th for Tia. So it looked very promising, but what does the Tiger do but hunt at the end? And she gets a 2nd and 1st for Tia. Annie, I hate to even say it, but just kind of crumbled a little bit under maybe the pressure. Obviously, workouts will fall to each athlete, but as we see here, I'm gonna pull this up for you. This was more of a, I felt like kind of a falling for Thorsdottir. So we got the sprint effort here. And Horvath, Magala, Toomey, Thorsdottir, and Adams. And it's a really good grouping here. But you got double unders, which I'm not going to, I mean, every one of these athletes, you know, you're at the Rogue Invitational, you make it to the games. That shouldn't be a big deal, big issue. This was actually one, too, where we saw Katrin struggle a little bit on the double unders, which was odd. It's 60 double unders, 3 snatches that are heavy, and then the object on top of the object, sandbag, which seemed to be pretty heavy for most of these athletes, but doable, obviously. So she's in a tough crowd, and this was all I thought very interesting too. And this is something that I love, that I would love to see in CrossFit, even as a full event. I've actually performed a competition like this at our box, but the bracket style, tournament style. Now you see Horvath missed a rep there, and so Annie came off a little bit late, but kind of has this opportunity. And if you look, she's up there at the second to last, or lane 4. And she struggles with the snatches. She has to drop and reset. And this is where people make the move. Of course, Tia does what she does. Horvath, strong performance. And Annie looks to get, Magala already comes in too. And Annie looked to get to the fixture before Haley, but could not get it up and over that. And this is where she struggles. And of course, this is bracket style, and you're at the bottom, you don't make it. That, I would say, sealed her faith, obviously, and she was very, very disappointed there. That was kind of awkward, actually. I didn't notice it the first time I watched it. She walked right off, didn't say anything to Tia. It almost looked like she had to say something to a judge. I think Tia at that time knew where she stood, and so, yeah, that was obviously disappointing to the fans. But, you know, got to be more disappointing to the athlete themselves. So, you know, Annie kind of losing the lead there in the last 2 events. And not surprising, the queen of CrossFit taking charge. Also, big note, Kari Pierce taking in her last event here as a professional athlete. And, well, this is actually event 6, but this is one she took first overall. And so kudos to Kari Pierce. Long career, successful career, I believe, you know, getting to the podium for the Americans, first time in a long time. And I don't know what the full story is there exactly as far as why just yet. Maybe there's other endeavors. You know, they say that this is her last professional as a CrossFitter event. But who's to say she's not going to go team? I mean, she would be highly sought after as far as a CrossFit teammate in that realm. And that I think can be really cool for the sport too. I love team sports. I love team events. I don't think it gets the props. You know, even when Rich went over, I think helped it a lot. But you start getting some more of these athletes like that, might pull some more attention to the team side of things. So adding a Kari Pierce potentially could be a really good thing for the sport of, well, for the team sport of CrossFit. And you know, we'll see about that. We'll see how that goes. So that's kind of some of the big news and notes out of the weekend. Not all of them. But let's take a look, last dive here, at the actual workouts and what we thought of, you know, overall what the programming was. So we had the Go Ruck at the beginning, and I thought that was really cool. That's a good way to start it too. I mean, you give the people something. It's not just a normal CrossFit workout. The complex under the lights, you couldn't do better. And again, bringing back this vibe, even from back in the California days, under the lights, in a stadium, outside. I think that was the big difference there. In Madison, you don't have that arena outside vibe. I thought that was really clean, really cool. Echo burner, thrusters, bike thrusters. That's what I'm saying. I think if you open up the event with that, not as satisfying, but obviously needed to be tested. So, you know, we start off with the odd objects and kind of long piece, moderate piece with the Go Ruck. So we'll go back to event 1. The over-under deal with the, I don't even know what you, okay, the log, and then the pack. So cool start to it. Then you got the max load, got to have that. And I'm talking about for the test aspect. The sprint effort here, the thrusters, bike and thrusters, disgusting. Start the day off completely wrong, if you ask, in my opinion, as an athlete. And then we go into the 4 rounds of the ski, med ball, GHD sit-ups, and heel run. A little bit longer piece. Going to check out some endurance and strategic play. I love seeing some strategic play. It's not as visually appealing probably in the long run, but if we're wanting to crown a champion, probably a necessity. And then you had the 21-15-9 deadlift burpee pull-up. Burpee pull-up, different, but I don't mind it because now you got a good, decent, heavy barbell, and somebody that can fly through pull-ups doesn't really have that advantage. So I felt like, okay, some of you stronger, bigger athletes, let's we're gonna try to catch you up a little bit here, but you can't stop at all either. Of course, that's what a 21-15-9 typically stands at anyway. Event 6, the chipper. Lots of different pieces here. The calorie row, the box step ups with a feed bag. They always like to throw in some odd, functional objects. Handstand push-ups, strict. We keep seeing that. Ring muscle-ups. Jerry can carry. Rogue, again, wanting to throw in some functional fitness objects. And then we go back to the ring muscle-ups, handstands, step-ups, and then the row. This just, again, traditional big CrossFit workout, and almost feels kind of like, well, did we forget something? Let's make sure that we didn't leave anything out to test an athlete saying, oh, we just crowned somebody that can't do a muscle up or can't do it very efficiently. I don't think anybody can't do it, but efficiently. And then of course 7, I liked event 7, like we just watched with Tia and Annie. Sprint of the double unders. Again, let's not forget it, I guess. But I like the combination of that one. I feel like that was creative. And again, they throw in some objects. So, yeah, overall, can't be mad at all the different tests. You get a lot of events in. You get a whole CrossFit Games vibe weekend. So overall, yeah, successful programming, so successful event. I know they posted some of the viewership on YouTube. Not quite where the numbers need to be, for sponsorships. So that seemed to be a little down. I think it was something in the like 2 million range, or not quite 2 million viewers. If you're talking about sports, I don't know if regular sports people fall into the CrossFit realm. So I don't know how much, but you got the World Series and you got football, you got college football. It is a very competitive market and time of the year. But to have it in Austin, and I don't know if this is something they're going to continue, you can't really do that in summertime. I mean, if they were passing out in California, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make events like that in Austin. So not unless it's indoors. Okay, that's the Rogue 2021 Invitational. We didn't go over the Legends side of things, oddly enough, CompLegends.com. Just a quick glimpse at that. I felt like the one in Ohio was better. I don't know why. Maybe because it was a smaller spot and it felt a little more on top of the athletes, and I like that. This one didn't look like as many people stuck around for the Legends for some reason. And but I thought it was fun. They were mixing up some like partner workouts, and I thought it was fun. But of course, there's just not as much on the line, and so I think it's a really cool piece as long as they can afford to do that. I don't know what it takes to get these guys there, and it's good for the Legends too to keep them relevant in the sport. I think it's good for people to know where it came from. But overall, I felt a little underwhelmed. Not by the workouts, not by the athletes. Just for some reason, it didn't. Maybe the competition itself trumped it a little bit more. I don't know. if you were there, let us know what you thought the vibe was. Maybe it just was from the camera angle. It gave that vibe. Let us know what you think about this event and how it went down. If you were there, that would be even cooler to hear from you. And, check us out on Instagram, YouTube, CompLegends.com. Like and subscribe if you want to follow along. We have the weekly challenges, and we got a lot of cool things coming out pretty soon. New Year stuff. So until then, let's be legends.